I have 163 books on my physical TBR, so I thought we should talk about them. One of my goals for the new year is to read 50% of my physical TBR. So we're going to do an overview now, and we'll do an overview at the end of the year and see if I accomplish my goals. I literally have books on my physical TBR everywhere. Preferably, I would love to have them condensed into one spot. I used to just have my TBR cart, and then there were book sales. So then I kept buying books, and now they're kind of just everywhere, so we're gonna go over them. Okay, we're starting in the hardest spot because I have some books up here that are part of my physical TBR, literally standing on a stool so I can get up here. Okay, so we're just gonna do this rapid fire, but we have Little Women, and it's a gorgeous special edition version, and then I have all of the Magnolia Parks Daisy Hates books. Jessica Hastings is not a great person, so I'm still debating on if I'm going to read these or not, but I did buy them off of Pango Books, I believe, because I wanted the original covers and I couldn't find them anywhere. But now I don't know. I mean, I still paid for them, so I kind of think I should still read them. But anyways, and then we have Catherine Center, the rom-commers. I actually haven't read any Catherine Center books, but I know she's like quick, easy, fast reads. And then we have Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang. I've read the first Poppy War book and I really enjoyed that. And the concept of this one sounds really, really interesting. And then we have The Guest List and The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I am not a huge thriller fan. I've never really read thrillers, but I'd like to give them a go. And we have Have a Soul and 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. These are like Regency fairy tale retellings and they sound really interesting. And then we have another classic, East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I'm not too sure if I'm going to read this, honestly. I'm kind of scared of classics, and as someone who is not majorly religious, and I believe this is a retelling of something from the Bible, I don't know if that's exactly for me. And then we have The Toll, which is the last book in the Scythe trilogy, and then Gleanings, which is a novella, like just adding on to the story. And I have Exquisite Ruin, which I got in my Owl Crate subscription box, and I read like the first few pages, and the concept of it is like so strange. This girl gets like stuck in a labyrinth or something, and I was like, this is just not what I'm in the mood for. And then we have Immortal Dark, which I'm quite fascinated by. I'm very curious about this one, and I think I'm gonna end up reading this one pretty soon. All right, and then we have a bunch of Sophie Lark books. Again, I bought these from Pango Books. I did not support her as an author. I honestly don't know if I'm gonna read the rest of these, but we'll see. I have Wild Love, Elsie Silver, another Catherine Center, Hello Stranger, Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto, Bodyguard by Catherine Center, When in Rome by Sarah Adams, also The Cheat Sheet and The Rule Book, and then Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This one I also really want to read soon because I just see it everywhere and everyone's loved it, and I really, really want to get to it soon. Alright, so that is all the books up here. Now let's move to the next section. Okay, now we have a whole nother shelf of books on my physical TBR. So we have My Friends by Frederick Bachman. I love Frederick Bachman, and I am so excited to read this one, but I was kind of saving it for the summer because it just gives that vibe based off of the cover. And then we have Buried Bones in the Midnight Soil. Again, I love V.E. Schwab. I've just been a little scared to start this one. Then we have Catabasis, R.F. Kuang. Again, scared to start this one. And then we have Gifted and Talented by Olive Blake. I've never read an Olive Blake book, but this one sounds really interesting. I think it's like siblings and there's something with an inheritance and like a whole thing, and I love family drama, so I think that'll be interesting. Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I loved Divine Rivals, and this happens like thousands of years before Divine Rivals. And then Forbidden Alchemy, I got this in another Owl Crate subscription box. The cover of it is absolutely insane. The Favorites, Lane Fargo. Really want to read this one soon. And then we have Alchemized. My nanny got this for me for Christmas, and I am terrified to start it. Everyone just says it's very, very emotional, and it's like almost 1,000 pages, so I have no idea when we're gonna get to that one. Okay, we're gonna go a little lower. We have Pineapple Street, Broken Country, Rose and Chains. I think this is Julie Soto's her first fantasy, I believe. I don't know if it's young adult or adult, but whatever. And then What Fury Brings. And then I really want to get into Robin Hobb this year. So we have the first 3 books in the Farseer trilogy, and they just sound very fascinating, and I love these covers. And then I have the 3rd and the 4th books in like the whole Bridge Kingdom series. I know there's gonna be like 6 books or something, but The Inadequate Heir and The Endless War. And then we have The Revenant Games, which is also a part of a series. It's like a whole vampire thing, and like it's like vampires versus humans, and there's like a game to it. Sounds very interesting. And then A Fate Inked in Blood, another Danielle Jensen book, a different series though, and I kind of want to finish this series before I start this series. And then we have The Unmaking of June Farrow, The Night Ends with Fire. This one sounds so interesting, and look at the cover of it. I think it's so cool. And then we have another Rebecca Ross, A River Enchanted. I haven't really heard much about this book, but it sounds really interesting. And again, the cover, so pretty. And then Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. The covers for this whole series, absolutely insane. They're so pretty. And I think it's a duology, and then there's a novella for the series. All right, then all the way on the bottom of the shelf, we have some Cassandra Clare. I have another Owl Crate special edition, The Sword Catcher. It was so pretty, and it was literally $10, which is cheaper than the actual book, so I just decided to buy it. And then we have the complete series of The Mortal Instruments. And then I have the Infernal Devices trilogy, the Red Scrolls of Magic, and then I have Heartless Hunter and Rebel Witch. I really want to just take the time to just binge the two of these because I've heard it's pretty predictable, but I think it's a really good time, and I think it would be fun to just read them like back to back. Okay, so we've come back up here because I have even more books on my physical TBR. And don't be fooled, this isn't even all of them. So we have main characters. Again, I love the cover of this one, and I definitely want to get into it in the summer. I'll probably bring it to the beach with me. And then we have Matt Haig, How to Stop Time. I love Matt Haig. I think he's so talented. So I'm very excited to read that. A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic. Cozy fantasy is my favorite genre, so I asked for more of them for Christmas. And then we have A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. And then we have two Lily King books. I read Writers and Lovers, and I really, really enjoyed that. So then I heard Heart the Lover is like a continuation of those characters. So I really wanted to get that. And then when I was looking at that one, I saw 5 Tuesdays in Winter, and I think it's just like 5 different short stories, or maybe more than 5, but I really like books that are a collection of short stories, so I thought I would really enjoy that. And then we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, A Man Called Ove, or Ove, I'm not sure how to say that. Time After Time, this one is really interesting. It's like the same love story, but 100 years apart, like in the same apartment, but it's like different couples. Sounds really interesting. And then The Rose Bargain. The next stack, we have The Queen of Blood, which is another one of Sarah Beth Durst's series, and she is one of my favorite authors, so I really wanted to start that, and I believe it's a cozy fantasy series, so perfect for me. And then we have First Time Caller by B.K. Borson. I really enjoyed Good Spirits, but I'm waiting to read this for Valentine's Day. And then we have Out on a Limb and Out of the Woods, Hannah Bonham Young. This is like her most popular book, and I haven't even read it. I read People Watching for the fall time, and I really like that. And I know a lot of people didn't really like that one, and they loved this one, so I feel like I'll probably like this one. I don't know. And then we have Real by Kennedy Ryan. I've just read Before I Let Go, and I really, really enjoyed that, so I'm ready and excited to read more of her books. And then we have the last 2 books and the Darker Shade of Magic trilogy. I definitely want to finish those soon because the first book was so good and I didn't want to put it down. And then A Dance of Lies. This cover is so stunning, and I'm very excited to read that one. And I know there's a second book coming out, but I'm trying to finish series before I start new one, so I have no idea when I'm getting to this one. Now we have my entire TBR card that is stuffed to the brim. I cannot fit another book on this thing, so I have them stacked all differently, but I have Taming Your Gremlin, which is a self-help book that my mom's friend recommended, and my mom really liked it, so I definitely want to read that soon. I also have, I don't know what is in here. I have this cute little bear, little decoration. I have a bookmark that my stepdad got me that's like a magnetic one. So I have these magnets that I got when I was in Hawaii. So pretty, love these. A bunch of extra bookmarks. $2 bill, because if you have seen any of my other videos, I only ever use $2 bills as bookmarks. I don't know why. It just feels right. And I get them a lot from customers at work. And then I have my Kindle here, which I don't really use that often anymore. I have Ellen Hildebrandt. We have The 5-Star Weekend. I believe my mom and I actually found this at a used bookstore, which is cool. Okay, and then we have Lovely War, which actually started at one point, and then I just stopped reading it because I'm pretty sure it's when Onyx Storm came out when I started reading this, and I was like, okay, I want to read that. But I was enjoying this, I just never got back around to reading it. And then we have another R.V. Blake book, which is The Atlas Six. I know that that is also a part of a series, and like I said, I'm not trying to start a bunch of new series. Okay, and then I have a special edition of The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I know I haven't read it yet, but they came as a set with All Roads Lead Here, and I love that one. Then we have Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. We have the entire Prison Healer trilogy, which I really want to read soon, and I think it's just called the Renegades or trilogy or something like that, but they're superheroes, and I really want to read these soon. Also, there's a theme. I want to read every single book soon, which obviously isn't possible, but anyways, moving down, we have Lightlark, which I've genuinely had on my TBR for so long, and I genuinely want to read this soon, but again, I don't have any of the other books in the TBR, and I'm trying not to buy books this year because, as you can see, I don't need to. There's no reason to. And then How to End a Love Story, It Happened One Summer, Better Than the Movies. I've also had this on my TBR for so long, and I know everyone loves this book. Tangled Up in You, which is a Rapunzel retelling. I think that's pretty cute. And then we have Magnolia Parks. This one is one of the new covers. I don't really prefer those covers. Book Lovers, which is one of the only Emily Henry books that I haven't read yet, so should probably get to that one. Check-in Me by Ali Hazelwood. Sounds Like Love and The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I love Ashley Poston. I think the way she does the little magical elements is so interesting. And then we have The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore, The Christmas Tree Farm, The Strawberry Pancake House, and The Gingerbread Bakery. These are all like those silly little, very predictable romances, but I feel like sometimes you're just in the mood for that and you need a little bit of that, you know? Okay, so we have The Secret History, which I am terrified to get into, and then The Picture of Dorian Gray, again, terrified to get into. Cirque by Madeline Miller, which I'm also really scared to read because I didn't really enjoy The Song of Achilles, which I know is crazy, but I might have to give it a second chance because I read The Song of Achilles right after I finished reading Throne of Glass. Probably not my best idea. And then we have The Measure. This seems like a really interesting, I think it's like sci-fi almost, fantasy, I don't know. The House in the Cerulean Sea. Again, this is another book that I started reading, and I believe that's when the second book I think that's when Iron Flame came out that I stopped reading this one. A classic cozy fantasy that everyone loves. Definitely want to read that one. Fly Away, which comes after Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I was so emotionally distraught after reading Firefly Lane, so I'm definitely scared of this one. Carrie Soda's Back and Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Two of the books that I've read by her have both been 5 stars. So I have very high expectations for these two. And then we have Archer's Voice, Most of All You, and More Than Words by Mia Sheridan. Archer's Voice is like a classic, very favorite book. And I've had this on my TBR for an incredible amount of time. And then House of Salt and Sorrow. I'm not someone who can really read about like ghosts and whatever, and I don't know if this is going to be like too creepy for me. I don't know. Okay, now we're on to the other side. So we have The Anatomy and Immortality duology. These remind me of the Stalking Jack the Ripper books, and I love those books. They really started to get me back into reading, so I really want to read these. Red Rising, terrified of that one. Crescent City, the first two. I don't have the last one. I do want to read them before ACOTAR 6 is coming out because I'm pretty sure you need to have Crescent City read before ACOTAR 6. And then we have The Priory of the Orange Tree. This book is fat and huge, but I do love the cover, and I'm pretty sure there's more books in this series, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. And then A Short Walk Through a Wide World. I bought this because the description said it was for fans of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and for a very long time that was like my absolute favorite book ever, and it's still one of my top favorites. But that's why I picked this one up, and I tried to start reading it, but it just wasn't my vibe at the time. I do still plan on reading it. And then we have Five Broken Blades. The sprayed edges on this one are really cool, and I'm pretty sure that's why I bought it. And then Trust of the Emerald Sea. It's only a Brandon Sanderson book that I do have, but I know I've seen some stuff about where people say that you should actually read some of his books before you read this because it's in the same world. But then I've seen some people say that doesn't matter, so I'm not quite sure about that one. So we have A Silent Patient, which, as I've said, I don't really do thrillers, but I do want to read this one because obviously it's so popular. And then Riley Sager, The Only One Left, again, another thriller. The Maidens, which comes after The Silent Patient. And then we have All In and Bad Blood. I do want to finish the Natural series this year, probably soon, actually, because I just want them off my shelf. I was really enjoying them, but they're very dark, and I'm someone who has very, very vivid dreams, and if I'm reading dark books, then I have really, really bad dreams. I already have bad dreams, and then if I'm reading something that's dark, they're even worse. So I try not to make that worse for myself. I just have a very vivid imagination, and I usually don't have the greatest dreams. Anyways, we have the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which I've had. Genuinely, these might be the books that I've had on my TBR the longest, honestly. So I should probably read them. You can tell by, I don't know if you can see it, but the tops of these are so yellow because they used to be in the sun. And then we have Babel, another R of Kuang, and then the next two books in the Poppy War trilogy. After reading the first book, that's very heavy. I need to watch like a YouTube video on an overview of the Poppy War because that book was really good. I really enjoyed it, but I don't remember anything because I read it, I think, almost 2 years ago at this point. And then Before We Were Strangers, this is such a fast-paced book. Not fast-paced, this is such a fast read, I imagine, because it's so small. I think that'll be a good in-between book. Okay, and then to the bottom, these are books that I honestly don't know if I'm ever gonna read. Okay, so down here we have some Janet Evanovich books. My boss actually gave these to me because we talk about books a lot, and she thought that I would enjoy them, so I do actually want to read them. My nanny also really likes her books, so she said they're just like fun, quick reads, so I do actually want to read these. And then I have two of the Hunger Games books. I have The Hunger Games and Catching Fire. I do really want to read these books. I am just kind of scared because I do get attached to characters, and that kind of scares me with these books because people get very emotional over them. And I've actually only ever seen the first movie, so I want to read them and then I want to watch all the movies. And then we have Turtles All the Way Down. This is a very popular John Green book, and my family was going to get rid of it, and I said, no, I want it. I'm going to read it one day. And then we have The Cartographers. I found this at Barnes & Noble, and I just felt like buying things, so I bought it. I don't know what it's about. Same thing with this one, The Last Animal. Saw it at Barnes & Noble, liked the cover because there's an elephant on the cover, or a mammoth, whichever one, and I decided I wanted it. I don't know if I'm ever going to read it. Then we have Normal People by Sally Rooney. I've tried to pick this up, and I cannot get past the no quotation marks. I think I need to try, but that time's not now. And then we have The Alchemist. I did try to read this at another point too, but that was way earlier into my reading career, and I didn't appreciate slower books as much, and now I really, really love a slow book, so I actually really do think this will speak to me now. And then we have another Matt Haig book, Notes on a Nervous Planet. I went through a very anxious period of my life a couple years ago, and I bought this and I actually never read it, but I do still want to read it because now I'm way more drawn to Matt Haig's work. And then we have And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. My nanny actually got this for me for Christmas one year from a used bookstore, and I still have yet to read it, and I want to read it so I can talk to her about it because she loves Agatha Christie. And then I have David Goggins' second book that he came out with, never finished. I read the first one and I actually really liked it. I think it's quite inspirational. So nonfiction is really hard for me to get into. I read them very, very, very slowly. And then the last book that I just had shoved right here is Atomic Habits. This book has like blown up. And like I said, nonfiction is just really hard for me to get into, but I know people really adore the writing and just like the advice in this one. So that's why I have it. Okay, so those are the 163 books on my physical TBR. I know it is an insane amount, but I'm also not someone who hates having a large TBR, so I don't mind, but I would like to have more books read than I do on my physical TBR. Let me know if you guys want to see me read any of these books, because I'll definitely incorporate it into a video, and any books that you think I should prioritize more over others. I'd love to hear your opinions, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!